My girlfriend just got back from a groomsmen weekend trip where she was supposedly the only woman invited. Something about this whole situation feels wrong, but she is calling me controlling for questioning it. Am I overreacting, or is this as sketchy as it sounds? I am Caspian, 28M, been dating Evangeline, 26F, for 2 years. I work as a project coordinator making around $58K. She is a marketing assistant making about $45K. Overall, we have a good relationship, though we have had some friction lately about her male best friend situation. Evangeline has this male best friend, Maximilian, 29M, who she has known since college. They text constantly, like, all day every day. She will be having dinner with me and responding to his messages throughout the meal. When I have mentioned it feels excessive, she says that is just how their friendship works, and I wouldn't understand. Here's what bothers me. In 2 years of dating, I have never once met this guy. Every time Evangeline hangs out with him, it is just the two of them. Solo drinks after work, coffee dates on weekends, long phone calls that she takes in another room. When I have suggested maybe we could all hang out together sometime, she says he is really shy around new people and prefers one-on-one friendships. Meanwhile, I have always included her with my female friends. She has met everyone I am close with, comes to group hangouts, is part of my social circle. The double standard has started to bug me, but whenever I bring it up, she accuses me of being jealous and insecure. About 6 months ago, Maximilian got engaged to some woman named Serenity. Evangeline was thrilled, not because she was happy for him, but because he asked her to be his woman of honor in the wedding. She said it showed how much their friendship meant to him. Since then, the wedding planning has given them even more reasons to spend time together. Venue visits, cake tastings, flower selection, she is involved in everything. Again, always just the two of them. When I asked why his fiancée wasn't more involved in these decisions, Evangeline said Serenity was really busy with work and trusted them to handle the details. The whole thing came to a head last month when Maximilian invited Evangeline on a groomsmen weekend trip to his family's cabin upstate. She explained that all the guys in the wedding party were going for male bonding and bachelor party activities. But since she was the woman of honor, he wanted her there too. I told her it seemed weird that she would be the only woman on a guy's trip. She said it showed how much he valued her friendship, and that the other groomsmen were cool with it. When I asked if I could come along, she said it was specifically for wedding party members only. Don't you think it is strange that in 2 years together, you have never invited me to hang out with your supposed best friend? But now you are going away for a weekend with him, and a bunch of guys I have never met. She got defensive and said I was being controlling. That Maximilian was one of her oldest friends, and if I couldn't trust her around him, we had bigger problems. She accused me of trying to isolate her from her friendships. I backed down because I didn't want to be that boyfriend who dictates who his girlfriend can hang out with. But something about this whole situation has felt wrong from the beginning. The trip was this past weekend. Friday through Sunday at his family cabin, about 3 hours upstate. She left Friday morning with an overnight bag, saying they were planning hiking, drinking, and guy stuff that I probably wouldn't enjoy anyway. Throughout the weekend, she barely texted me. Usually when we are apart, we stay in pretty good contact. This time I got maybe 3 messages total, generic updates about how beautiful the area was and how much fun they were having. She got back Sunday night in a weirdly good mood. Kept talking about how amazing the weekend was, how close the whole wedding party had become, how much the guys loved having her there. She brought me back a small gift from a local shop and was being overly affectionate, like she was overcompensating for something. But here is what is eating at me. She also kept mentioning how emotional everyone got Saturday night, how they all sat around the fire sharing feelings about friendship and love, how Maximilian cried talking about how much he loved his friends, and specifically mentioned how lucky he felt to have her in his life. When I asked for more details about the other guys, her answers were vague. She couldn't really describe their personalities or tell me specific things they had talked about. It was like she had spent the weekend focused entirely on Maximilian and barely paid attention to anyone else. The thing that is really bothering me is this. If this guy is truly her platonic best friend, why have I never met him? Why is she always protecting their friendship from outside influence? And why does a groomsman trip need the one woman in the wedding party there for male bonding? I have female friends who are married, And when they have girls' trips or bachelorette parties, they don't invite the one guy in their friend group. It would be weird and inappropriate. Am I being paranoid here? Is it normal for someone to be this secretive about a supposedly platonic friendship? Because 2 years in, I still feel like I am dating someone who has a whole separate emotional life that I am not allowed to access. I want to trust her, but my gut is telling me something about this friendship isn't what she is claiming it is. Edit. A lot of people are asking why I haven't insisted on meeting him after 2 years. I have brought it up multiple times, but she always has reasons why it wouldn't work. He is busy, he is shy, the timing isn't right. At some point, continuously pushing felt like I was being controlling. But you are right that this is a red flag I should have addressed more firmly. Update 1. Thanks for all the responses on my last post. Most of you confirmed what my gut was telling me, that this whole situation is sketchy as hell. I decided to pay closer attention to Evangeline's behavior since she got back from the trip, and honestly, I am getting more suspicious by the day. First, her story about the weekend keeps changing in small ways. Sunday night she said they went hiking Saturday morning. Tuesday she mentioned how tired she was from staying up late Saturday night around the fire. Yesterday she casually referenced sleeping in Saturday morning because everyone was hungover from Friday night. When I asked about the discrepancy, she got defensive and said I was interrogating her about an innocent trip, but why would someone need to keep track of lies if they were telling the truth? I also started paying attention to her phone behavior before the trip. She would text Maximilian constantly but didn't really hide it. Now she is being secretive again, turning her phone face down, taking calls in other rooms, quickly switching screens when I walk by. Classic guilty behavior. The thing that really got my attention was Wednesday night. She got a call around 9 p.m. and immediately went into the bedroom and closed the door. I could hear her talking in hushed tones for about an hour. When she came out, I asked who it was. Just Maximilian. Wedding stuff? Wedding stuff. The wedding's still 4 months away. There's a lot to coordinate. You wouldn't understand. That phrase, you wouldn't understand, is becoming her go-to dismissal for anything involving him. It is starting to piss me off. So yesterday I decided to do something I have never done before. I looked at her phone. I am not proud of it, but I needed to know what was going on. I found their text thread. And, holy shit, these aren't normal friendship messages. They are not sexting or anything explicit, but the emotional intimacy is off the charts. Messages about how special their connection is, how much they mean to each other, how the weekend changed everything for them. There was one exchange from Monday that made my stomach drop. Maximilian, I cannot stop thinking about Saturday night. I haven't felt that close to someone in years. Evangeline, I know. I keep replaying our conversation by the fire. I have never opened up to anyone like that. Maximilian, Serenity would never understand me the way you do. Evangeline, Caspian either. Sometimes I wonder if we are settling for people who don't really get us. What the hell? They are talking about their partners like we are consolation prizes. And what conversation by the fire? I thought this was supposed to be a group bonding experience with all the groomsmen. I kept reading and found more concerning stuff, references to our secret spot by the lake. And remember when we snuck away from the group? If this was really a big group trip, why were they sneaking away together? But the message that really got me was from Tuesday, Evangeline. I brought Caspian a gift from the trip, but I kept thinking I should have gotten it for you instead. Maximilian, you should have, but we have to be careful. Only 4 more months until... 4 more months until what? Until the wedding. What happens then? I screenshotted everything and sent it to myself, then put her phone back. I have been sitting on this information for 24 hours trying to figure out what to do. Part of me wants to confront her directly, but I feel like she will just deny everything and get better at hiding it. Another part of me wants to reach out to Maximilian's fiancée Serenity to see if she knows what is really going on. Actually, that gives me an idea. If this really was a big groomsmen trip with multiple guys, Serenity would probably know about it, right? She might even have contact information for the other groomsmen's partners. I found Serenity on social media through Maximilian's page. She seems nice, works as a nurse, posts normal stuff about her life and relationship. I noticed she didn't post anything about Maximilian being away for a groomsmen trip. which seems odd if your fiancé is off bonding with his wedding party. I am thinking about sending her a message, something casual like asking about wedding planning or mentioning that Evangeline had a great time on the Groomsmen trip. If there really were other guys there, she would probably know about it. Or am I overthinking this? Maybe I am reading too much into emotional friendship messages and coincidental inconsistencies. But honestly, after reading those texts, I don't think I am being paranoid anymore. The way they talk about their partners, the secretive references to time alone together, the emotional intensity. This doesn't feel like platonic friendship behavior. I need to know the truth about what really happened on that trip, because if they lied about it being a group event, what else are they lying about? How would you guys handle this? Confront her directly or try to verify her story first? Edit. Several people suggested reaching out to Serenity before confronting Evangeline. That way I can verify if there really was a group trip before potentially making false accusations. I think that is smart. If I am wrong, I will look like a paranoid asshole. If I am right, I will have evidence. Update 2: You guys are not going to believe what I found out. I was completely right to be suspicious, but the truth is so much worse than I imagined. I am still processing this, but I need to get it out. I decided to reach out to Serenity yesterday to casually ask about the Groomsmen trip. I found her on Instagram and sent a friendly message introducing myself as Evangeline's boyfriend, saying I had heard they had wedding planning in common and thought it would be nice to connect. She responded within a few hours, seemed really sweet and excited to chat with me. We talked about wedding stress and planning details for a bit. Then I casually mentioned how tired Evangeline was after the Groomsmen weekend trip, and how it sounded like such a fun bonding experience for the wedding party. The response I got back made my blood run cold. Groomsmen trip? What groomsmen trip? Maximilian told me he was going to the cabin alone this weekend to clear his head before the wedding. He said he needed some solo time to think about his future. I stared at that message for like 10 minutes. Then I asked if she was sure there wasn't a group trip planned that maybe she had forgotten about. No, definitely not. I actually suggested he invite his groomsmen, but he said he specifically wanted to go alone. I was a little hurt that he didn't want me there, but he said he needed space to process his feelings about marriage. Space to process his feelings about marriage, while my girlfriend was there with him, alone. For an entire weekend, I didn't know what to say, so I told Serenity. I must have misunderstood something, Evangeline told me. She said maybe there was a miscommunication and asked if I wanted her to check with Maximilian. I panicked and said no, that I would figure it out. The last thing I wanted was to tip them off that I knew. But Serenity seemed concerned and kept messaging me. She said something had been bothering her about Maximilian's behavior lately, and our conversation was making her worry. She asked if we could talk on the phone. We ended up having a 2-hour conversation that shattered everything I thought I knew about this situation. Turns out Maximilian has been acting weird for months. Secretive about his phone, working late more often, seeming distant during wedding planning. Serenity attributed it to normal groom stress, but now she was wondering if something else was going on. She told me Maximilian and Evangeline had history. They had dated briefly in college before breaking up and becoming friends. Serenity knew about this but thought it was ancient history since they would both moved on to other relationships. But recently, Maximilian had been mentioning Evangeline more often. How stressed she was at work. How much she was helping with wedding planning. How much he appreciated having someone who really understood him in his life. I started feeling like he talked about her more than he talked about me, Serenity said. But I convinced myself I was being jealous and insecure. The final piece that confirmed everything. Serenity checked Maximilian's location on Find My Friends. They share locations for safety Saturday and Sunday. He was definitely at the family cabin. But according to his location history, there was a second phone there with him the entire weekend. They weren't just alone together. They were lying to both of us about it. After I hung up with Serenity, I sat in my car outside my apartment for an hour trying to figure out what to do. I had definitive proof that Evangeline had lied about the entire trip, but I also felt awful for Serenity, who was now questioning her entire relationship 4 months before her wedding. When I finally went inside, Evangeline was cooking dinner and acting completely normal, cheerful, affectionate, asking about my day. The cognitive dissonance was insane. I decided to give her one more chance to tell me the truth. "Hey, how are things going with Maximilian's wedding planning? Is he stressed about getting married?" "Oh, he is doing great. The Groomsmen trip really helped him bond with his guys and feel more confident about everything." She looked me straight in the eye and lied. "Again, that is good. Did you get a chance to hang out with the other groomsmen much? You didn't really tell me about them?" "Yeah, they are all really nice. Just typical guy stuff, you know. Sports and drinking and complaining about their girlfriends, more lies." I couldn't take it anymore. I pulled out my phone and showed her my conversation with Serenity. "Want to explain why Maximilian's fiancée thinks he went to the cabin alone this weekend?" Her face went completely white. She started stammering about miscommunications and misunderstandings. Maybe Maximilian hadn't told Serenity about the group trip because he didn't want her to feel left out. "Evangeline, stop. I know you were alone with him all weekend. I have proof." That is when she broke down and admitted it. There was no groomsmen trip. Maximilian had invited her to spend the weekend at his family cabin. Just the two of them. She had lied about the group trip because she knew I would be uncomfortable with her going away alone with another man. "But nothing happened," she insisted. "We just talked and hung out as friends. I knew you wouldn't understand." I asked her why she felt the need to lie if nothing inappropriate happened. "Because you have always been jealous of my friendship with him. You would have made a big deal out of nothing. Made a big deal out of you spending a romantic weekend alone with a man you used to date 4 months before his wedding." "Yeah, I probably would have." That is when she admitted they had talked about their past relationship. How they had broken up because of timing, not because they didn't care about each other. How they both wondered sometimes what would have happened if they had tried harder to make it work. "But we decided we are better as friends. We are both in relationships now." "Evangeline, you literally texted him that you wonder if we are settling for people who don't understand us. That doesn't sound like someone who is happy in their relationship." She didn't have an answer for that. I told her I needed space to think and went to stay at my friend Thaddeus's place. She has been blowing up my phone ever since, alternating between apologies and accusations that I am overreacting. But I am done. You don't lie about going away alone with your ex for a romantic weekend and then gaslight your partner for being upset about it. You don't have emotional affairs disguised as friendships and act like your partner is controlling for being uncomfortable. I am meeting with her tomorrow to get my stuff and end this relationship. 2 years down the drain because she couldn't be honest about her feelings for another man. The worst part is thinking about Serenity, who is planning a wedding to someone who is emotionally checked out of their relationship. I feel like I should warn her, but I also don't want to blow up her life right before her wedding. This whole situation is awful. But at least now I know my instincts were right. Final update: it has been 3 months since I exposed Evangeline and Maximilian's deception, and the karma that followed has been absolutely spectacular. I wanted to give you guys a final update because the justice in this situation turned out better than I could have imagined. First, what happened immediately after my last post. I met Evangeline the next day to get my stuff and officially end things. She tried everything: tears, promises to cut contact with Maximilian, accusations that I was throwing away our relationship over a misunderstanding. I told her the misunderstanding was thinking she was someone who valued honesty, packed my things and left, blocked her on everything. But I couldn't stop thinking about Serenity, who was still planning a wedding to someone who would rather spend romantic weekends with other women. After 2 days of internal debate, I decided she deserved to know the truth. I called her and told her everything. The texts I had found, the lies about the group trip, what Evangeline had admitted about their weekend together. It was one of the hardest conversations I have ever had. But Serenity thanked me for my honesty. She confronted Maximilian that same night. According to what she told me later, he initially tried to deny everything. But when she mentioned the location data and timeline evidence, he broke down and confessed. The confession was worse than either of us knew. He and Evangeline had been having an emotional affair for months. The cabin weekend was supposed to be their chance to figure out if they wanted to leave their respective partners for each other. They had spent the weekend talking about their real feelings and planning how to end their current relationships after the wedding. The plan was for Maximilian to go through with marrying Serenity for appearances, then leave her within 6 months for Evangeline. They thought this would be less disruptive than calling off the wedding. Serenity was devastated but also furious. She called off the wedding immediately, lost some deposits, but she said discovering her fiancé's true character was worth any financial cost. The fallout was immediate and brutal. Maximilian's family was humiliated. They had already paid for most of the wedding and had to explain to extended family why it was canceled. His parents, who had always loved Serenity, basically disowned him when they found out why she left. His job situation got worse. Turns out he worked at the same marketing firm as Evangeline, just in a different department. When the affair became office gossip, and it definitely did, HR got involved. Both of them were terminated for violating company policy about workplace relationships and creating a hostile work environment. Maximilian, being older and in a more senior position, had a harder time finding new work. Last I heard from Serenity, he had moved back in with his parents and was working retail while looking for another marketing job. Evangeline tried reaching out to me multiple times over the past 3 months. First, it was apologies and promises to change. Then it was anger that I had ruined her life by telling Serenity the truth. Most recently, it was desperate attempts to reconcile, saying she had realized I was the one she really wanted. I ignored all of it until last week, when she somehow found out something that made her lose her mind completely. Serenity and I started talking regularly after the whole situation exploded. Initially, it was just mutual support. We would both been betrayed by the same people and understood what the other was going through. But over time, we genuinely became friends. She is incredible, smart, funny, kind, and refreshingly honest about everything. After months of Evangeline's manipulation and secrecy, being with someone who says exactly what she means felt like breathing fresh air. 3 weeks ago, our friendship turned into something more. We went for coffee to catch up and ended up talking for 6 hours about everything except our exes. I realized I was developing real feelings for her, and when I finally worked up the nerve to say something, she admitted she felt the same way. We have been taking things slow. Both of us are still processing the betrayal and want to make sure we are interested in each other for the right reasons, not just trauma bonding. But so far, it has been amazing. Last week, Evangeline saw us together at a restaurant downtown. She confronted us in the parking lot, screaming about how I had stolen Maximilian's ex just to hurt her, how I was being pathetic and vindictive by dating Serenity. Serenity calmly told her that she had chosen to date someone who values honesty and loyalty over someone who lies and cheats. That maybe if Evangeline had been truthful about her feelings from the beginning, she wouldn't have lost everyone who mattered to her. Evangeline stormed off, but not before yelling that we deserved each other and that she hoped we would be miserable together. Honestly, we are the opposite of miserable. Serenity and I have built something based on complete transparency and genuine compatibility. We talk about everything, including our past relationships and what we learned from them. There are no locked doors, secret phone calls, or mysterious friendships. The irony is perfect. Evangeline and Maximilian destroyed their existing relationships trying to be together. But once the excitement of the affair was gone and they would both lost everything, they realized they didn't actually want each other. They just wanted the thrill of the forbidden romance. Now they are both alone, unemployed, and dealing with the social consequences of their choices. Meanwhile, the people they betrayed found each other and built something real. Sometimes, karma doesn't just balance the scales, it flips them completely. Serenity and I are planning a weekend trip next month to the same cabin where our exes had their affair. We are going to replace their bad memories with good ones. And yes, we will actually be going together, not lying to phantom groomsmen groups about it. Thanks to everyone who told me to trust my gut and investigate further. You probably saved me from years of being lied to and helped me find someone who actually deserves my trust.